Why are you so obsessed with Halloween? I mean, it's just like Mom says. It gives little kids dumb ideas about there being magic. Like that helps them prepare for life. Personally, give me a good nature documentary any day.
Halloween is cool, Nature Boy. I mean, it's exciting, strange, and ancient. Plus, Mom and Dad met on Halloween.
Halloween is a time machine to our childhoods. Think back to those early October evenings, dressed up in your favorite costume, running from house to house, eagerly filling your bag with candy. The smell of pumpkins, the chill in the air, and the eerie glow of the jack-o'-lanterns. Those memories stay with us, and they are forever tied to our sense of wonder. For many of us, Halloween is a moment to relive that childlike excitement. It's not just for nostalgia, for the fun and candy, but for the magic, the freedom to be anything we wanted for one night. If we let Halloween slip away, we lose that connection to our past selves, that pure joy that only comes from childhood traditions. You fucking nerd. Yes, folks, it is that time of the year again, one of the greatest times of the year, that being Halloween, a holiday that brings people together like no other. Except for, maybe like Thanksgiving and Christmas, but all those holidays, especially Halloween, are W holidays. We are in the most peak part of the year, the peak seasons, that is, that being Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. But today, I'm here to talk about Halloween and why it is important for us, not just for nostalgic purposes, but for mainly are not just like childhood memories, passing something on, and just maintaining a culture, a white culture, in fact. But here's the thing, folks. I'm seeing too many people blackpilling about Halloween, how it's not hitting like it's supposed to, or how it used to, in fact. But here's the problem with that. We can actually do something about that. We can maintain Halloween as a fantastic holiday. We don't have to be blackpilled about this, but there are many ways we have to go about it. And that's what I'm going to be discussing in this video. Not only its importance, but what this entails for our legacies to come. But before I get into all that, I need you guys to do your due diligence and like this video and subscribe to the channel. Because believe it or not, there's really no one else on YouTube that is going to go into great lengths, as I will, as to why Halloween is such an important holiday and why we must pass down this amazing tradition for future generations to come. And also, why you motherfuckers need to stop blackpilling constantly about this holiday. Okay? And also, stop listening to the evangelicals that think Halloween is a pagan holiday. It's not! That is such a baseless claim to make, and one that has really no authority behind it, alright? The only reason those people are saying that is because they hate having fun. They were castrated at a very young age, where their parents told them they're not allowed to have fun because of reasons. And what reasons exactly? We don't know, because it doesn't matter. You know why it doesn't matter? Because those people don't matter. Because they choose not to maintain a culture and a great society. They just don't have it in them. But quite frankly, I do, and everybody else that's awesome just like me has it in them too, to maintain such a great holiday such as Halloween. But without further ado, you guys, let's get into how we can maintain such a great holiday and why it's important to do so. Now, I know I mentioned earlier that Halloween isn't necessarily about the nostalgic factor of the holiday itself, but I would say it's part of it. And what do I mean by nostalgia? What I mean by nostalgia is letting your kids to have authentic memories when partaking, in trick-or-treating or going to costume parties as a kid. I think those are things that you need to help your child create in terms of those memories and having something to relate to or fall back on in some ways, or just having a point of reference in terms of, just creating authentic memories. And I don't mean nostalgia in the sense that you should force the same experience that you had on your kids necessarily, or just try to recreate shit the same way Hollywood tries to recreate the 80s feel of everything, and they're trying to push it on, younger generations and say oh, this decade was fucking awesome. Let me play this fucking playlist from an 80s. Let me play this 80s playlist, you stupid bitch. And you're gonna like it. It's better than your garbage music that you listen to today. No, I don't necessarily mean that. What I mean is, the same way that you created those, authentic memories when you were trick-or-treating and going to those costume parties and just having fun with your friends. That's what I mean. Have those authentic memories. Just be in the moment. Create. And a lot of people kind of get blackpilled on this because, they look back when they were a kid and they're like, oh man, some things just don't hit like they used to, or essentially just blackpilling themselves. And that is not something you should be doing. You should be striving to, create newer memories, not necessarily you don't need to try to recreate what's already been done. I mean, think about it. What made those memories those particular memories? Well, here's the thing. Because you were in the moment. You weren't really thinking about what needed to be recreated. You were just creating. You were creating authentic memories, and that's what made that moment special. You don't make it more special by recreating the same exact event. I mean, just think about it. Every single year that passes by, you're creating newer memories, and you're, listening to newer music, or just kind of getting a different vibe for how things are. And an example I'll give to you guys is, I was driving the other night, late at night in this city-like area, and I was just playing the Silent Hill 2 soundtrack. And this is probably the first year I've actually listened to the Silent Hill 2 soundtrack on my own, or just the entirety of it. And let me tell you guys, that is a whole vibe in itself. And that's why I'm playing it as the background music for this particular video, because that to me is a very authentic feel. It created a new vibe that I very much enjoy, and that's going to be, unique to this year. But I make that point because this is something that you should be doing for your kids when you're growing up, you're helping, your children, and you're raising them as a new parent. You need to be helping them create memories just like that, or kind of have that similar mindset where you are essentially creating something very authentic to that. And I know I keep using the word authentic, but this is a point I'm going to have to keep driving home because a lot of people these days lack authenticity. And I think one way we can overcome that lack of authenticity is to essentially just take a step back and say, okay, what can I do in this moment? What can I do that's very special to me? What can I create? And just kind of sit back on that and just don't necessarily try too hard to recreate something that worked in the past. Just work with what you have now, and that'll make a very pleasant memory, especially if you're raising kids and you're trying to get them involved in this tradition of trick-or-treating, or just having a good time with their friends. You have to be very much authentic and in the moment with it. Don't necessarily just try to force onto them what worked for you back then, because kids are going to be different from you. Not everyone's the same, and that's just something you're going to have to accept. And you're also going to have to accept that you need to let kids be kids. Let kids be in the moment, and during those times, let them create those memories for themselves, because they'll need that point of reference later on when they're raising their own kids and partaking in these traditions. And regardless if you're a parent, aunt, or uncle, or just, any sort of family member involved with, these kids or these newer generations partaking in traditions, I think you should try to make it better than what you had initially. Because to me, that as a parent, I'm not a parent necessarily, but the whole concept of being a parent is to basically give your kids better than what you had initially. And I think it should be better than what you had. And this whole getting blackpilled and just it's talking about all the time how things just don't hit like they used to. Well, then start making it hit like it used to, or make it hit even better. That's how these kids are gonna be very fond of these memories. They're gonna be very fond of their parents when they remember taking part in these traditions and just having a good time with these holidays, such as Halloween. And also something that's is becoming really underrated these days, and it really shouldn't be, is developing a community around this, or just again, creating those authentic memories, not just with family members, but with, your neighbors, coworkers, whatever the case may be. This is something that is really important and should not be looked over. And that's going to kind of lead into my next point. Halloween honestly brings people together like no other holiday. And there's something about this one night where we're all out celebrating in our neighborhoods, knocking on each other's doors, and just sharing that spooky spirit. It's just one of those few times of the year when we step outside, we meet our neighbors, and we share a collective experience. And whether it's decorating in the front yard or passing out candy, Halloween really strengthens our sense of community, and in a world that's increasingly disconnected. And this simple tradition reminds us of why we're not alone, and why we can't let that sense of connection disappear. And this is a point I'm going to constantly keep making, not only just like authentic feeling, but essentially creating memories with other people, outside of your family. And I think part of the reason for this is mainly because, especially here in the US, we're constantly getting people that are being migrated here, or they're immigrating here, and they don't share that same cultural experience that we have. They don't have, the same sense of appreciation. And it's like, what the fuck are you doing here? Like, how is this beneficial to us? Like, you're not one of us, dude. You're not on our team, bro. And I think what also pisses me off the most is not just necessarily just migrants that don't really appreciate these traditions and kind of just ruin it for everybody. I think what ruins it even more are those that actually were a part of this tradition and actually, they partook in trick-or-treating, and then all they can say later on is, oh, trick-or-treating's just for kids. Halloween's just for kids. Like, who gives a shit? It's like, dude, that's not the fucking point. All right? Stop being a fucking race traitor. Stop being an uncultural swine just because you don't feel it anymore. And I think the biggest problem with, us kind of losing that neighborly connection is essentially people are just too indifferent these days. They don't take a strong position on anything, and they think that it's not worth, carrying on these traditions because, oh, they outgrew it or whatever. That's not the point. The point is these kids need to grow up with something. They need to, cherish these memories. They need something to cherish or have something to look back on fondly. And you're not going to do that by just blackpilling all the time and just being an uncultural swine about everything, being indifferent about everything because you don't give a shit. And this is honestly how we start to lose these certain values and these traditions, is because people just don't give a shit. And it's like, and we have this culture of like, oh yeah, you shouldn't care what people think about you. You should just stop giving a fuck. It's like, here's a counterpoint to that argument. Have you actually tried giving a fuck about anything? And that to me is where we start to lose that sort of authenticity, as I keep talking about. Because I have to keep stressing that point, because I think I can repeat that point over and over, and that's just going to go over so many people's heads. But it is so important to carry on this shit for other people, especially children and newer generations. And you don't maintain certain feelings for anything, or like a certain vibe for certain holidays like Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. If you're just too indifferent about everything, you need to start taking a firm position as to why events like these are important for future generations to come. But on the flip side of that, I think a lot of people, including myself, are starting to realize that, and they're starting to take, their lives more seriously and their legacies more seriously. And I would hope that'd be the case, because too many people nowadays, as I mentioned earlier, with the indifferent people, they just really don't mind letting their enemies walk over them and letting foreigners walk over them. You can't let people that don't have any real appreciation for your culture or your country walk over you, or even validate their opinions, because who gives a shit about what they have to say about you? You should be giving a shit about what we say. You're on our territory, bitch. All right? You appreciate our traditions. You appreciate our culture. It's not the other way around. I'm not going to not give a shit just because you don't give a shit. All right? That's how this is going to work. And nothing more, nothing less. But, guys, all jokes aside, kind of, this is the thing. We have to maintain that sort of neighborly connection in spite of people not giving a shit, because, they went through these things and it's like they don't think it's important anymore. But here's the thing, folks. We really have to maintain a sense of connection, because once that connection is lost, it's going to be really hard to get back, because, again, if people don't give a shit, then you're going to lose these things. And I'm here to stress that it is very much important to have these sort of connections, these neighborly connections and family connections, because this is how we create great memories for future generations to come. And that's honestly going to lead on to my last point. To further add on to making lasting memories, Halloween is essentially all about passing the torch to the next generation. Just like how our parents took us trick-or-treating, we get to experience that same excitement with our own kids, nephews and nieces, or even younger siblings. It's just an overall important piece of our heritage. And I'm going to keep stressing this point. It is so important that you maintain something like that, and stop listening to people that just sit back and are like, aren't you too old to be trick-or-treating? And dude, I'll level with you guys here. I remember hearing that kind of shit growing up. Even when I'd gotten used to the idea of what trick-or-treating was, or the level of excitement that came with it, I started seeing commercials on TV all the time where you'd see these older people who would, or sometimes they would have like kids look at the older people or adults in costumes, and they're like, "Aren't you too old to be trick-or-treating? Aren't you too old to be doing that?" And part of that was like, okay, you kind of see where they're coming from, but then it's like at the same time, there was clearly something nefarious about all of that. It was like somebody was really trying to rain on our parade. Somebody was trying to be a party pooper, and I think there were some very sinister forces involved with a lot of those commercials that basically had that sort of sentiment that like, oh, you're too old to be doing these things. You're too old to be having fun. You're a little bitch if you do. And dude, this is something I don't think people realize this, or maybe a lot of them do, including myself, but there are so many people that just neglect that kind of demoralization with the most recent generation, or the generation after, let's say Gen X, or not Gen X, Gen Z. Gen Z was just one of those generations that I grew up in, and I started noticing like this sort of police state on having fun. I always saw these people that were just, they were very bitter. They saw, us kids having fun, and you had so many jealous people around you that were just, very bitter about all of it, because they probably had something going on in the back of their heads where they were like, you know what, I missed out on this level of excitement when I was younger, so I'm going to ruin other people's lives because of it. That's actually the Gen X mentality, which I can't stand Gen X. Because they're losers. But no, kidding. This is love speech here. This is love speech here. No hate intended, although kind of. But no, in all seriousness, I noticed with my generation, like a lot of us kids just had our balls chopped off at a very young age. Like we were just essentially told, you can't do too much. You'll get in trouble if you do X, Y, and Z and all that bullshit. And dude, that like fucked with so many people going forward, and that probably fucked with them in terms of like, how to appreciate their heritage, their culture, and just simply having fun. And I see so many people that are like this, especially, and I hate to say this, but conservatives, especially, or people that call themselves conservatives, they're always like, you can't have fun. Like, we have to take ourselves way too seriously. It's like, dude, fuck off. Like, liberals don't even act like that shit, I mean, and I don't really like liberals necessarily. I think a lot of them are degenerates, but a lot of them are actually kind of fun to hang out with. Like, if you catch them at a good time and they're not like being a complete bitch about everything and just acting like an absolute degen, you can actually have fun with those people. They can actually, be a good time to be around. And unfortunately, a lot of people that would consider themselves conservative, which I'm going to use that very loosely, a lot of those people just are miserable, and they always look down on others for simply having a good time and just being able to like relish in the fact that like, hey, what you're feeling right now in terms of like, trick-or-treating or participating in any holiday after Halloween, like this is natural. This is what it's all about, and you don't need to be taking that away from people. And that's why it is so important that like we emphasize the importance of these holidays and just simply like having a good time with people around you. Like learn to appreciate everything that's around you, because time on this earth is very short. Life is way too short to be taking yourself way too seriously, and so many of y'all are losing sleep because you're taking yourselves way too seriously when you really shouldn't. Like, get that stick out of your ass and just move forward with your life. Understand that, like, you're gonna have struggles in life. This life is about hardship and struggles. It's not necessarily a theme park, but we have occasional festivities to where we can just sit back and say, you know what, life isn't too bad. It sucks here and there, but this is what it's all about. I'm glad I can, cherish these moments with friends and family members, because that's what it's all about. Life is way, way, way too short to be taking yourself way too seriously and just making an ass of yourself. And speaking of making an ass of yourself, I have noticed this more recent trend of, unfortunately, a lot of Protestants with Halloween that like to reiterate that Halloween is a pagan holiday and you're celebrating the devil. It's like, number one, fuck off. That's not even true. And let's say if that were true, let's say Halloween was originally a pagan holiday. Can we not use bad for good? Can we not turn bad into something good? I mean, God did that throughout all of history, and he still does that today. So what's stopping you from, making something good out of something bad, or something what you would consider sinister and pagan? I mean, and a lot of these same people make that same argument for Christmas, like, Christmas is such a pagan holiday, nobody should be celebrating it. It's like, hey bitch, you partake in a pagan day every single day. Like, think about it, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, those are named after a pagan entities, all right? Like, you're not doing yourself any favors. Like, get some fucking rest and get that stick out of your ass, all right? And quit making excuses as to why you want to be miserable for one day out of the year, all right? Just relax. It's not that serious, and you need to learn how to have a good time. Because, again, life's too short. Just fucking relax every now and then. Ugh. But regardless of all that, folks, and all that yapping that I've been doing for quite some time, I just want to conclude this here by simply saying, you know, Halloween is a great holiday. It's a holiday we can't afford to lose. It's something we're going to have to cherish for many generations to come. And just stop getting black-pilled about everything. Stop listening to people that just simply can't make a name for themselves. And all in all, let's just embrace the spirit of Halloween and keep it alive. After all, it's a night where we can all feel a little magic, no matter how old we are, and no matter what others say about this holiday, or the excuses that they like to make. This is my challenge for you guys going forward. Why don't you claim this holiday as ours? Don't let the black pillars, don't let those that simply say that it's a pagan holiday. You take it as your own and you make the best out of it. Remember what you had when you were younger, the nostalgic feeling, whether that be trick-or-treating, watching scary movies, and just doing some spooky shit altogether. That is yours to claim, and let that be for future legacies onward to claim. All right, do not let anybody tell you any differently, because fuck them. I'm just playing with you guys, but no, seriously, if you made it to the ending of this video, I appreciate y'all. Y'all are true legends, spooky legends, in fact. But seriously, you guys, thank you so much for watching. And if you feel the same way I do about Halloween or any holiday in general, feel free to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. And the last thing I'll ask from you guys, why don't you type in the comments below how you feel about Halloween? And what kind of memories did you make when participating in trick-or-treating or watching movies or just doing anything fun with your friends and family? Let me know in the comments below, because I am genuinely curious as to why you think this holiday is important to you and why we should cherish such a holiday such as Halloween. But with all that being said, folks, that's going to do it for this video. Once again, I appreciate you guys for reaching to the end of this video. I'm sure you probably enjoyed the bunch of bullshit rambling from yours truly, which I wouldn't really consider it rambling. I just consider this to be truth pills that I've dropped. Alright, because this is the pill that most people need to simply swallow. Because I'm tired of the black pilling about Halloween or just any holiday in general. I'm tired of people just taking themselves way too seriously. It's time to scale back. Enjoy the moment, enjoy the legacy that we can carry on going forward. Let's keep the spooky spirit alive. And that's all I'll say on that. Y'all take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.